Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. We are back. Football is back again, and everything is right with the world. We are here to preview Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace, a vital game. Vital game for Villa, vital game for Palace. Huge game to come. Make sure you smash that like button on your way in, people. Hit that subscribe button as well. If you're new to the channel, we are about, I think, 15 or something away from 4,800 subscribers. On the way to 5,000. We really want to do it before Christmas. Now we've got loads of shows to come, so we can definitely do it before Christmas. So like, subscribe, get your comments flowing in as well. We're going to dive right into it, straight into this game coming up. But Kev, how you doing, mate? Excited that football is back again. It seems like so long ago. Every one of these international breaks just seems like they last longer and longer.
I know, and the thing is with international breaks is that first of all we were like thinking, oh God, let's keep it going, Villa, a decent start. And now lately we're thinking, thank Christ for an international break. It was brilliant, wasn't it? Just to get that sense of 4 defeats out of our mind. And
Yeah,
do you know what?
that's true.
Do you know what's bad? I had I don't know if any of the Villa fans have had this over the international break. Let me know in the comments if you have. But watching my kids play football last weekend, I had a flashbacks when my lad was playing, particularly, my only daughter's only started this season, a couple of years back, and his team wasn't doing so good at the time, and they were losing probably every week. And then Villa, inevitably on a Sunday or a Saturday under Gerrard, would lose every week. And I remember thinking, football's crap, isn't it? Like, I'm just watching defeats everywhere I look. Then Unai's totally changed that. Lads in a new team, they're doing well. Football's been amazing. But it makes you realise, isn't it, that you don't always get what you want with football. There's ups and downs, and you've got to be there with the ups and downs. And to think that the last weekend I was thinking, thank God Villa can't ruin this for me. Like, my lads' team won 4-0, and I thought at least Villa won't ruin the weekend. And I've not felt like that about Villa for ages. So we need to get it out of our system, because even the most positive fan in the world, me, is starting to be a bit negative. So we need to just eradicate this now. Unai, if you're watching, I know you are, mate. Por favore, please get it. He knows what por favore is, obviously.
Does he?
Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's get a win this weekend, mister, and let's put this 4-game loss spell, banish it to the history books. Thank you. See you later, Rich. Nice to meet you all again.
There we go. Yeah, that's the show done. Eddie, I hope we weren't too late for you, mate. We're only a couple of minutes. Si's in the house as well, and also said, I'm just glad proper football's back. It's mad. It's near enough a month since the last home game. Absolutely, yeah, it'd be great. And we know what the atmosphere needs to be like. Lena's in the house. Hi to you, Michael, as well, and Stephen. Good evening to you as well. Thank you all for joining, and Rachel as well. Great to have you in. Dancing Brave, hope you're doing well. Yes, football's back, and we do need a win, absolutely. And Si's got his grandson's match in the morning before travelling south. So,
Good luck.
Hopefully your grandson wins as well, and Villa win as well for you.
Si, you're surely not old enough to have a grandson. Surely not old enough.
Yeah,
surely, can't believe that for 1 second.
His name's not Shirley.
Yeah, don't call me Shirley.
But yeah, going into tomorrow's game, obviously we've had a lot of time to reflect, and I felt obviously so much that Liverpool reaction was a lot of therapy, a lot of kind of me talking to you, trying to pull you off the floor or whatever. But I did get the impression that the performance against Liverpool wasn't that bad. And I do think, had there been one or two things that went our way, we probably could have got a result. Liverpool, very solid and without being spectacular. But what I want to see from Villa tomorrow is that fast start again. And I know we've talked about that a couple of times. I want to see that bouncing out of the blocks quickly, get one goal in the first 15 minutes, and really, really take it to Crystal Palace because, as we know, they're not in the best of forms either. So it's definitely an opportunity for us to get off to a good start.
Well, it is. We're playing a team in the bottom three who've only won one game all season. So if there's ever a time to turn it around, I do think from the last performance, as you kind of touched on there, if I remember that podcast rightly, and at my lofty age now, like I can't remember what happened yesterday, but just about to the depths of the back of my brain, I think we were both fairly sort of middle of the road with it.
Well,
Really.
you'd been to the game, hadn't you? You'd been to the game, and
Yeah,
you kind of said there was one or two bits where we really did take it to them and played pretty well.
I felt like even with 5 minutes to go, I still felt we could get something out of the game, and that's away at the team top of the Champions League and the Premier League. So, I mean, look, it's disappointing. We've lost 4 in a row. Context, is dependent on, I guess, your emotions at the time, isn't it? And when you lose any kind of game, you're annoyed. But to look back and think Spurs away, they could do that to anyone. They really could. They really could. I mean, I saw highlights on Sky Sports today when I was having my lunch of I think when they beat Man City a few years back. Liverpool away goes without saying. Away in the Champions League, and then obviously a changed team in the Carabao Cup. We're not playing great, though. That's the thing which separates this from me. The results independently can be understandable, but we're not playing great. And that's the key thing now, which, as you say about that fast start, I think it's absolutely essential that we get, particularly at home, what was a fortress. Our home ground was where we were going at teams. The 6-1 against Brighton. Brighton, who would have been a great team in the last 3 or 4 years, we absolutely destroyed them. The 4-1 West Ham, the 3-1 Man United, so many games where at home we basically show what we were all about. And in recent times at home, I don't know whether teams have found us out, whether we're not coping with Europe and all of that kind of stuff, but I just love to see a confident, positive, swashbuckling performance. And you said this, I think you said the last time we did a game like that when we spoke about it was maybe Bournemouth, maybe. I can't remember who it was, going back to, it must be like February, March time now.
Yeah, well, even that Bournemouth game, we went 1-0 down and then came back but played really well. Obviously, Wolves in that second half this season, we showed a momentum. But yeah, I mean,
Bologna first half,
it's been a long time. Yeah, Bologna first half, very good. Very good. But it's a real opportunity tomorrow. I know George is trying to join. I think he's struggling at the minute. But yeah, it's a real opportunity to really push on. And before we get into kind of predicted lineups, what we're expecting from Palace, this is probably a stupid question, but who are you expecting more from, and who are you wanting to see more from, particularly for tomorrow's game?
Salmon Leon Bailey, Salmon he's our winger. He's not very good at the moment, though. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've got my predicted line, but I sent it in the chat earlier. I don't know if you've got, of course, you consummate professional. Of course you are. Of course you've got it. I don't know why I even doubted you there, Richard. But I said, and I'll tell it to everyone else who's taken the time to tune into us tonight, that I don't think I would start either Philogene or Bailey. I think neither of them have shown anywhere near enough in attacking areas of the pitch, and I think it's time to see what they can do off the bench. And if you want to get yourself back into form, there's too many games now we've played that, particularly Bailey, thinking, well, he'll come good. He's our only wide option, really, with experience. I just think that, I think he probably will play because of maybe some of the injuries, but I would actually be creative with the formation. But as we spoke about earlier, what do I know? I've not won the Europa League, so there you go.
Yeah, the only reason why I said, I think, like you said, I think partly it's players and numbers, and partly it's other thing. I think Emery took the time out to say that he had a good first half against Liverpool. In terms of, I don't know, like what his justification was, but he actually said, Bailey was better doing this, doing that. So off the back of that, I think he probably thinks that he's started to do something more that he was asking him to do in the first place. So that might be a reason why he starts, not just because there's not enough players at the moment to play him, but yeah, I see him playing. But I also think, even the likes of, and I'll bring George into this as well. Welcome to the show, George. Got your camera sorted. Even the likes of John McGinn, we've seen how well he's done in international duty, but he's been disappointing in the last 3 or 4 games for Villa. Morgan Rogers has maybe dropped off a little bit. We talked about how much he has to do at the moment and how much is on his shoulders. Even Ollie Watkins, been isolated in games, but not really getting involved enough, not holding the ball up enough. So there's a few players, George, that really do probably need to step up and show what they can do to kind of get Villa back on track.
I think George's audio's off, so I'm going to pretend to be George for a second.
Yes, you pretend to be George. He's having a nightmare. Friday night, he's having a nightmare.
Love the Villa. Whoa, yeah, darts. Whoa, posting letters. Whoa, yeah. Was that any good, George? Sorry, you can't even tell me. I know what George would say. George would say, it's not just Bailey. It's definitely not just Bailey, and I've called out Bailey there, but I think you've touched on it really well there. Rogers has been great this year, hasn't he, considering where he's come from, but he's been disappointing lately. I think Watkins has been disappointing lately. I think McGinn, we need to wear our away kit because it's the closest to the Scotland kit, and therefore, was that the third kit? The third kit, we need to wear the third kit now at home because McGinn plays significantly better, 2-2 over the international break for Scotland. I think around the team, I don't think Martinez has probably been at the levels. I saw a stat on Martinez the other day, like 4th worst in terms of like shots and chances at goal and like goals conceded from all the goalies. So, I think Cons, I know he's been shifted to right back at times, but I don't think he's been anywhere near it. I think the only ones that can really show this season of any level of hold their heads high for being consistently good are probably Digne and Tielemans. Maybe Martinez.
Yeah. Digne's been excellent, obviously, in keeping Maatsen out the side. He's obviously played very well for France as well. Tielemans, even he was slightly off it, but still
last couple of games,
still kind of injured. So yeah, it's a difficult one. But I do really want to see these players really showing what they can do. And obviously, Sai said there's been a few, not just Leon. PJJ's, Chippy Bailey, definitely. Kevin said goal scoring, yes, Scottish McGinn. That's what we need. We need the Scottish McGinn. Rachel said a far field shout. Cash, he needs to stay fit so we don't have to mess around with the defense as much and solve the right hand side. Yeah, talk about that in a second because I think that could be something that we need. Lena said Digne is going to be on fire. Brett said we're miles off from last season. Yeah. Miles. Danny said we need a whole team performance, boys, and defensive, strong, and take our chances. And Credo said, hey lads, let's have a December like last year. Yeah, definitely. Brett said, let's be fair, by the capitulation from Everton, Fulham missed penalty, Wolves blew it, we'd be 15th. Oh. So Brett's definitely a hard taskmaster. He needs to be impressed. Deontay, one game at a time. It's important for Villa boys to focus on the Palace game tomorrow and not Juventus on Wednesday. And Jay says we need 3 points. Simple as that. Don't care who scores. Don't care about the performance. Get that win. And I guess it's come to that really, hasn't it? I'd like to see a performance. I'd like to see a fast start, but ultimately that result is most important. On to Palace. We've got a few of their players out. I know Eze's out. I think Kamada's out. 1 or 2 others out. But I've done the in the away end preview with Rich from Palace channel called Eagle Eyed Football, and he kind of was very, very, very disappointed off the back of the end of last season that they had, and secondly, when he saw the lack of signings and how late they left it in the window to make any signings, he was very disappointed, if not necessarily as surprised at the start they've had this season. What would you make of Crystal Palace this season, Kev?
I've been incredibly disappointed with Palace. I remember saying last season, I thought the way they were playing, both Palace and Bournemouth were probably a shape for maybe not top 4, top 6, right? I think I did say kind of jokingly that the top 4 next season is going to be Man City, Villa, Palace, and Bournemouth because I thought that they were that good. They've been nowhere near it this season. And yeah, you know what? It shows what a big player, obviously, Elise is. And it shows what a big player Eze is, although I think he's been fit a fair bit this season, just hasn't been at the levels. And Anderson, I've always rated Anderson. I think Anderson's a good player. It's no surprise to see Fulham doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, they're not, look, clearly they weren't great at the start of last season. They went into this amazing sort of purple patch where they turned everybody over, it seemed. And for us at home against a team like this, we could have beat them in the Carabao, couldn't we? With a very, very changed team. I was at that game, and it wasn't much in it, and they had a pretty strong team. But I do think there is some. I think there is some legs, particularly in the point that Brett's making. It's you can look at football as coulda, shoulda, wouldas, right? And you can say if Watkins had his shooting boots on, we would have beaten Arsenal, and if whoever it was blocked Philogene shot against Man United, that would have been 3 points. And if we'd just not given that silly free kick away against Bournemouth,
exactly,
all of a sudden there's another 7 points the other way. But it does go to show that when your games are close, I think he makes a valid point. A little bit of luck, a bit worse luck than we've had in those games, and we could well be 15th, and then it would be full on crisis. And I think it points to the fact that even though the season is well and alive, and we're so close still to those top positions. I mean, just to kind of remind myself at the table, Palace are on 7 points. We're on 18, and third place is 19. So we're pretty close to the top, right? But you lose this game 5 in a row, losing to a team in the bottom 3 at home. And I do think it becomes a little bit panic stations. I think the calmness, I think this will be the one after this break when we're expecting a performance that they can regroup. Sure, got a few injuries, but so have Palace, right? We're all playing this same game. We've all got to deal with injuries. I almost think, dare I say it, that this is as much of a must-win as it's been in a long time for Aston Villa.
Yeah, definitely. It is absolutely. George, do we have you?
I'm on the phone now, lads. I've given up with the laptop.
Here he is.
Hopefully you can hear me.
He is.
All right, George.
Here he is.
How are you guys? You're right.
We are good, mate. We are good.
You know what they say? Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, yes. You kept joining and leaving, and we needed you in. But yeah, obviously we need your wonderful, wonderful perspective. Crystal Palace, though, obviously, yeah, Kev mentions there, it's a real must-win. They're probably looking at it as the same as well. My kind of player in terms of watching out for them is Mateta for me, because I feel like he's one who has troubled us a lot over the last couple of years. And with Pau Torres, knowing what his weakness is in terms of against strong, gangly, difficult to play against centre forwards, that's my concern. I don't know if there's anyone else, whether you agree with that, George, or anything else that kind of concerns you about Crystal Palace as well.
Yeah, Mateta's a handful, no doubt about it, and he gives a good battering, didn't he, at the end of last season? Obviously we'd just secured the Champions League and we were on the beach, as they say, but no one wants to get smashed 5-0 away from home, do they? And he did have an absolute field day against us. So, that sort of player will always give Pau Torres problems. Obviously we've got Tyrone Mings waiting in the wings, as we had a little chat on the group chat earlier. Could Mings come in and play the other side of centre-back to try and keep him quiet? There's always an option there. But, yeah, Palace, to be fair, flops of the season for sure. The way they finished last year, they were absolutely on fire, weren't they? From about February onwards. And they were looking like they were going to have a really good go at it this year. But,
yeah,
obviously losing Elise in the summer, I don't know whether you can just put it down to that they just haven't really ever got started this season so far. And, and they're hanging around the bottom 3 at the moment. And I would say Glasner's under pressure, and I guess, we've been on a bad run ourselves. But this is the sort of game, I think, could you ask for a better fixture at the minute than a bottom 3 side at home with a team that hasn't, I don't think they've won away yet. So, hopefully this is going to be the game where we get going, not them.
Yeah, in particular without the likes of Eze and Wharton as well, and they've got 1 or 2 players coming back to fitness, like Decore, but he's not fully fit, I would imagine. And I know we've got 1 or 2 players coming back as well. But yeah, it is. You're right in what you're saying, George. It's just we've got to make sure we take advantage of that. Kev, just on the back of that point about Mateta and Torres, it potentially being one of his weakness in his game. We know how many strengths that he has to his game, but would you be tempted to start with a Tyrone Mings to cope with that threat?
Yeah, I won't leak my team too much, but yeah, I absolutely would. I would start with Mings. he'd be in for precisely that reason. You know, it's any Premier League team, right? Any Premier League team is dangerous. As we saw with Sheffield United last season when we were like seconds away from losing a 15-game unbeaten run, getting thrown away to the worst team arguably in Premier League history. Anybody can do it. And Palace, even with a few injuries, Mateta's have been nowhere near the form of last season. But if you put him against a centre-half who's not quite at his physicality level, you know, all of a sudden, bang, 1-0, and then it's an uphill battle. They're not in great form. I don't know if you saw the stat that Brett posted in the chat a bit earlier, but we are 23 games, 8 wins in the Premier League.
Yeah,
23 games, 8 wins. And only a few games ago, we were saying best start since 1998, 2000, whatever it was. And maybe that's that little spell, because we did end last season very well. And we haven't done the last few games that well. Admittedly,
2024 ain't been that good, Kev. We've
really,
buzzed off 2023, but 2024 has been but average at best.
Yeah, we got over the line, didn't we? Because there was no real other challenges, and Spurs really fell away as well in the Champions League. And, you know, I think I was saying on the last pod, George, like, you know, me and Rich were chatting about Liverpool. I felt like we were getting the wins, and we were getting the wins. Yeah, I'm coming back, don't worry. But not this next bit. So just put your fingers in your ears.
Just wait a bit longer.
Just for the next 28 seconds. We were getting the wins and getting results early in the season. We'd only lost to Arsenal. And I didn't think we were playing very well. So I just thought, clearly, it's Villa, it's Emery. We're going to click into gear, and then we're going to absolutely smash it. And what's happened is we've got worse since then. And then, obviously, the lights are on us. But you got to give this team credit. You know, like they've done a lot of great things over the last couple of years. And, yeah, 2024 hasn't been great. But, my God, to go from 7th to 4th, you know, with...
Yeah, plus you muted yourself. But plus... You've got to factor in as well that we've won. Well, we got to the semi-finals of the Conference League, and then we've won 3 games in the Champions League already.
Yeah, we have.
So it's not like, you know, it's not like it's just been, you know, all downhill in the Premier League. We've had other competitions to talk about as well, to concentrate on as well, and to get really excited about. It's just, I really want us to see us string together 4, 5, 6 really good wins in the Premier League, or just some really consistent form. You know, we've got 4 games now coming up, 3 of them at home in the Premier League. Yes, we've got Chelsea away. Who knows what we can do there? But even if we did get beat there, you win 3 out of 4 games. That's still good form. That's still what I want to see. I don't want to see this kind of win a couple, lose a couple, draw 2, because draws don't get you anywhere. Like, draws just keep you stagnant. You need. I'd rather, like, the stats tell you you're better off winning 1 and losing 1 than drawing 2. So,
Rich, I was going to say before though, like, the thing is, and to be fair, like, Kev's given me some in the chat, so I'm going to respond to it. Like, I'm so disappointed with this going on, because I genuinely feel like we still could. I think
we're not going to win the league, mate.
No, I know we're not winning the league, but everyone else is shit, aren't they? Like, let's be clear. Like, what's anyone else doing other than Liverpool? Everyone else is nowhere near what everyone thought they would be. No one thought Man City would be 5 points off it. Arsenal were going to win the league, right? Chelsea started well, have dropped off a bit. Arsenal are on a ropey run. Like, I mean, what do we think? Fulham are going to win it? Like, you know, or Forest. My point is in a season like this, you've got to take the opportunity to cement at least top 4. I mean, league was always a bit of a pipe dream, right? But I did feel like nobody really bothered me. Like, really, in the league, nobody really was scaring me. I felt like we had the squad, we had the depth. We were saying 3-4 weeks ago, oh my God, we've got a fully fit squad other than Robin Olsen, you know, so we're okay. And maybe it was Olsen's a massive presence in the squad, apparently.
It's cost us.
It's cost us, but you know, like, I look at this situation and think, if we can just grab hold of it and get a bit of that tenacity and that a vivacious kind of positive way of playing football, and do what we're good at, and these players are knocking on international doors. Some of them are smashing through international doors. This is a peak time for these guys now. Give yourself a chance this season of making yourself a hero in the history of Aston Villa. Win a trophy. Qualify for the last stages of the Champions League, you know, get a Champions League qualification spot again. This is pivotal now for this team. We've got to win tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Smedit Villain said he agrees with you, Kev. We've not been playing well by the Arsenal game, but I think it's a testament to the team that we've not clicked yet and still a point off third. And Alan, who's joining us as well, said consistency is the key. And one of the things, George...
Sorry, can I just come back on that point? Is it a testament to the team, or is it testament to how bad the league is?
Well, it could be. Yes, it's a bit of both, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Is it more competitive this year?
It is.
It is definitely more competitive. I don't think the football's been as good, and I think there's probably many reasons for that. Obviously, players coming out from international duty. We know there's international breaks coming through all the time anyway at this part of the season. But I think the lack of rhythm, all that kind of stuff, does play a part. But I think we'll start to see the quality increase in the next few weeks, certainly. But that consistency point, George. We've seen Unai Emery, and we've read that Unai Emery's basically been working double shifts. He's been making his coaches work extra time to kind of put right what's not been going quite right with the results and with the performances. So, with that in mind, are you kind of expecting players for there to be a reaction? Are you expecting this kind of, I guess, this kind of malaise to come back, for Villa to bounce back? What are you thinking? You know, he certainly can't be blamed for not working hard enough anyway.
No, of course not. I mean, it's hard to know what to expect. It's like, I don't know, we've had a fantastic year last year. We finished fourth, you know, but the whole media have all said they won't maintain that next year. And I'm sitting in that gap. I'm sitting in that space where I'm thinking, do I trust in Unai, trust in the side that what we did last year was fantastic, or are the media right? You know, we're now in the Champions League. It's tough, isn't it? You know, we find that, you know, we've had a great start, to be fair, won 3 games, but it is competitive, isn't it? You know, we're having our injury problems again, like we did last year. I just can't quite see where we are. Are we one of them teams that we finished fourth? Now we think we're a Champions League team. Have we jumped ahead of our station? Are we a top 4 side? All right, we finished top 4, but there's a lot of teams that were shit last year. And all they have to do is notch it up slightly and us to drop it slightly. And all of a sudden, you're looking, like I always tell you boys, and I don't like to be defeatist, but we're always looking, we finished 4th, now we're looking up the league. What about the teams that finished 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th? They're all having a go now as well. And all of a sudden now we're back in that mix again. And you've got to try and fight to be the best of them. But I'm not sure. I don't know what we are this year. Things just ain't quite clicking for me at the moment. And we're desperate for, like you're talking about 5-6 games winning, Rich. I'd be happy to just get 2 or 3. Just, it feels like we haven't quite got our foot in the door yet this season. And, you know, I think especially at home, we're not quite the team we were. We had a great run at home.
Yeah, the away form's been pretty good.
Yeah.
The home form is where you where it really highlights it, isn't it? Because you expected to win your home games, you expected to get results at home. So that's the real key.
I was going to say, I think you can look at this a couple of ways as well, because I think it's a mark of a big team, like we were saying a few weeks ago when we were beating Everton and beating, Wolves from behind that, where we're churning out the results when we're not playing great. We are getting points on the board. But the other mark of a decent team is performances, and I don't think there's been anywhere near the level of performances. So it's kind of weird that in one breath I'm saying, well, we're clearly a decent side because we're 1 point off third, right? And therefore that's a really good thing. And actually we could be, in a much better position in the league with a couple of wins. And I know other teams are probably going to play differently against us maybe, but the level of intensity aren't there. The levels of, particularly in attacking areas, like just ideas and creativity and being brave and making runs and go. I mean, I don't know. It's like Bailey and Philogene are like, there's a contract out on them if they try and take somebody on. Like they're gonna get kneecapped. I don't know what's going on. I just, these players that I thought that were, Philogene of the Championship was doing like, ridiculous, taking 2 players on and doing Rabona goals, and Bailey was, I thought last season up until probably springtime, the best winger in the league, arguably one of the best in Europe in terms of his stats and what he was doing, and never giving the ball away. And
Kev, that's exactly it. What you're saying there about Bailey is what I'm saying about Villa. Is Bailey a top player, or was that just one good season in 4? Are Villa a good team, or was that just one good season? Do you know what I mean?
George,
I don't know what to trust just yet.
George, what we were saying about Palace earlier, Palace from, I know we did it over a longer period of time, but they were phenomenal for about 4 or 5 months. I mean, well, did we just
100%.
do that a bit longer? I do believe that there's been enough quality for a long enough period of time over a couple of years in terms of the change. Since Unai came in, we're still probably 4th or 5th in the league. I don't know the last
Sure.
couple of results. And again, it's 4 defeats, but it's only 2 in the league. So it's not like it's like we've dropped 12 points from 12. So you've got to give the credit there for that. But this is time now. It's time to kick on. And you're right. I don't think we're going to win 3 or 4 in a row. But we had a point when we were going to places like Chelsea away and getting wins. And if we weren't getting wins, we were putting performances in. It's been, rarely that we get absolutely smashed. And at the moment, we're not getting absolutely smashed, but there's just a bit of an insipidness related to the performance.
The other issue is where Bear in the Garden said the performances aren't great. You must make sure you're not giving anything away.
Yeah, we're giving goals away
too easily. And that, you can blame the strikers and you can blame the forward players for not creating as much as you like. But when you're giving goals away and you're letting players make runs off you, or, ridiculous goals off set pieces where it's your set piece and you're constant and teams are breaking on you 3 or 4 times during a game, then you want to be winning games 1-0. That's what you want to be doing. You don't want to have to score 2 or 3 goals to win a game every week. You have to win games 1-0, and that's not good enough. And no, defending and attacking is a team game, but you mentioned, Kev, about Emi Martinez. There's been a couple of times where his position hasn't been good enough or his reactions haven't been good enough. Diego Carlos giving the ball away. Pau Torres not strong enough. There's just been too many of those occasions where individual errors have cost us. And like I say, if your strikers aren't firing on all cylinders, the first thing that you're expected to do is not concede a goal, because that's how the game starts. The game starts 0-0. So there's no excuse there. Yes, the strikers get the headlines, but if you're conceding goals, you ain't going to win any game. You're not going to win many games. So but we have an opportunity. We have a manager who knows all this, who works doubly hard to put these things right, and we've got to have confidence in the manager. Absolutely full confidence in the manager, because yes, it's a little bit of a tough time, but we've had times where we lost 3 games in the Premier League in a row before, and we've turned it around and gone on to much bigger and better things. So I'm sure we can. But what I was going to say was, that was one thing as well with not giving anything away. Someone mentioned about consistency of team and who's playing. And I'll come to you first, Kev. Yes, we've got quite a few injuries. Ezri Konsa's missing, Amadou Onana's missing, Jacob Ramsey, Boubacar Kamara. So we have got our fair share of injuries. But do you think it's almost like a blessing in disguise, almost, that Unai Emery might be forced to maybe play a more settled side, at least for the next 4 or 5 games, and just allow the players to get into a bit of rhythm?
I think that's a nice positive way of spinning it. If it works out well, and you'd say that was a good outcome to a bad scenario. But I look at it slightly differently, in that you're almost possibly forced to play players that aren't in form because you haven't got many of the choices. Bailey being an example of that. Carlos probably, if you don't want to change up, put 2 left-footed centre halves in with Mings and Torres, then 2 players in the team probably that have had the most negativity have probably been Carlos and Bailey. And it looks like they're probably both going to play because if Konsa's out and if obviously JJ's out. So it's a really difficult one. The thing I was going to think about with it as well was, obviously Unai will take the responsibility for some of the decisions he's made. He's made mistakes. He's admitted it in the past. He got it wrong against Spurs last season. Probably admits he got it wrong against Spurs again this season away as opposed to home last season. But I think some of these players are arguably fighting for their future the next 2 months, because the trajectory Villa are on. Yeah, there's a few financial challenges, in the Premier League, but where we've come from, where we're going, with this manager, with this ownership, we are. Well, I think we're well on our way to getting, not just in Adidas's eyes next season an elite club, but properly an elite club that cements itself in Europe at the top. And if these players are going to be patchy in their form, they won't be around. They'll be moved on. I've got no doubt about it. I don't think Unai will accept the standards being low. So there's a point for some of these players now where if you want to be around this 4th place team in the Champions League positions, you got to step up. Now, it might be an inadvertent sort of, positive if he's forced to play players, Cash comes straight back in, Bailey sticks in the team. And then if they hit a bit of form, we're saying it's brilliant. But I think it's a necessity at the moment rather than a strategy.
Yeah, I take your point. I just think that Villa did so well last year off the back of having 12, 13, 14 players that knew that they were going to be called upon at one point or another. And it can be quite difficult to go from that and knowing that you've got to go through the trenches together. You've got to build that rhythm. You know where each other is going to be all the time, and when you make that run, it's going to be put in for you. To then, Watkins knows he's coming off after 60 minutes. Bailey knows he's coming off after 60 minutes. Ramsey doesn't play every game. McGinn's not playing every game. How can you get that rhythm? Whereas, so it's a catch-22. So I do feel like, and to go from that, knowing that you're going to play every week to now we've got a big squad, so it's going to have to be balanced. It's quite a difficult thing to work out. So I just think that the whole system of playing has suffered from a lack of rhythm and a lack of consistency. So almost having that decision taken out of his hands to have to play players into a consistent basis or into form may turn out to help them. Just off the back of what we did last season.
Let me just come back on that, right? So when he is this season bringing off Watkins after 60 minutes or McGinn after the same amount of time or, playing a few players a bit less, have anybody really in the crowd gone, why have you brought him off? I think when he's been bringing these players off, it's because they ain't been playing great. And it's been time for
It's more in the mind of the player, though, isn't it? It's more in the mind of the player.
But last season,
it's not about us. It's about the player. So, if Ollie Watkins doesn't score in the first half, he knows he's coming off after 10, 15 minutes the second half. So he's like, well, what's the point?
I get it, but also if you play the same amount of players, it's not 1980, 81 now. You're not going to win the league with 14 players to do anything. As we saw last season, we ran out. We ran out of steam. You run out of steam playing the same players. You need to, with different competitions, you need to be able to deal with it if that's what the big teams do. We're clearly not dealing with it great at the moment. I take your point, but I do think that there's a lack of form in the players. It's probably giving these other players an opportunity to come onto the pitch.
True, and look, at the start of the season, we were saying how good it was to be able to make these subs, and they were all making an impact, and they were all scoring, But then when it only lasts for so long because John Duran's been crap when he's come on the last few games, and then and McGinn's done okay when he's come on, and Philogene done terribly when he's come on, and Maatsen hasn't really done that well when he's come on, like one or two flashes. So. And it is difficult for these substitutes to be able to do it, to come on and change the game every single week. I'd say the most consistent substitute has probably been Ross Barkley. But he kind of more experienced. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to set a game up. And probably his role is more to bring a bit of calm or settled play to the side. Whereas the likes of Maatsen or Philogene or someone like that is there to make an impact. And you've got to do that quickly. You've got to get used to the pace of the game quickly. So I do think there's been a little bit of a transition with trying to go from small squad to bigger squad. And then, like you said, Emery's maybe made the odd mistake here or there, or not. Maybe you can kind of overthink it and play players in a game that probably a different player is suited for, and then vice versa in the other game. I don't know what you think of that, George, in terms of the team and whether it might benefit from the fact that we'll put our predicted lineups there now, but we know what injuries are. So the midfield in particular may have to play the similar midfield for the next 3 or 4 games.
Yeah. We just haven't found that balance, have we? That the whole squad game thing, like you guys just said, the classic example was the Bruges game away. Like that, to me, the starting lineup I liked. We had a stacked bench, and you're like, Jesus Christ, we've got some options. We're in the pub, Rich, weren't we, chatting around to people? What a squad we've got, this is amazing. Look, we've got 2 players in every position, and then, we put in an absolute shit show and get beat. And, for the two or 3 weeks we did have everyone fit, I think we pretty much lost every game, and that doesn't make sense. But at the same time, is it just because we're not used to having that level of quality in the squad? Last year, as we've already said, we were great for the majority of the season on like a certain amount of players. But, eventually it took its toll, didn't it? Hit January, February, and we were we were out on our feet for the rest of the season. It's one of them things you think, oh, we'll evolve into the next stage of the development, the squad game, and it all looked great, didn't it? But for a few games it hasn't worked, and now we're back to square one again. We're back four midfielders down, and we're looking like we're in the shit again. But I just think maybe we've got to get that batten down the hatches approach. I don't care, honestly. I don't care tomorrow if it's just a horrendous quality 1-0 win. That's all we need. It's just 3 points. Just go back to basics of defence, be hard to beat, win 1-0, and then we'll worry about Juventus on Wednesday. But
hey, George, would you bring in Allardyce or Bruce for one game? Tony Pulis.
None of this tippy tappy stuff. None of this tippy tappy rubbish.
None of this European tripe, right? Let's send Unai off to the Canaries.
Let him have a little breather.
Have a little breather, yeah. We're getting Pulis, we're getting Big Sam, and we're getting Harry. We'll get Harry in as well. We'll have all three of them, and we'll go backs to the wall. And
That's harsh on Harry. Harry was a flamboyant.
All right, okay.
We'll have there.
Okay, we'll have Pulis. We'll have who are we having? Allardyce. Who else we having?
Mark Hughes.
Get Dyche in for a game from Everton on loan.
Get Everton on loan. That's what we want. Yeah, just to get the 3 points for relegation.
Honestly, lads, I think that's what we just need to win a game at the minute.
Yeah.
I'm not bothered about how we do it.
Yeah, agreed. Few comments coming in. The Villa fan said the article that was put out there talking on Emery's heavy analysing with his team and looking at the little slips in play should show an improvement tomorrow. I am expecting it. David said perhaps Barkley needs to be a starter.
100%.
PJJ said Arsene Wenger used to say a winning team is built on defence. Rachel said the team aren't performing great, so it's just building up a lack of confidence, pressure and mistakes. They just have to work and adapt their way through. Kevin said get McGinn playing further forward behind Watkins. That's the key. And any more comments? PJJ, I think Super John, Morgan and Ollie will turn up tomorrow. David thinks teams as well will suss you out tactically, and we've missed some sitters. We definitely have. Kevin also said Maatsen needs a run of games, suggests playing him left wing ahead of Digne. Now Ramsey's out.
I suggested that earlier, boys, didn't I?
We will look at the potential teams in a second. Just want to do a little reminder to everyone: hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We are marching on to past 4,800 subscribers very, very soon, on the road to 5K. So please do like if you haven't already and subscribe. And if you're watching on X, follow us at Villa Park Pod, at KTAVFC and at Fowler Legend. And also shout out, we got a really good prize from our friends at Football Prizes this time round. It is actually a Morgan Rogers signed and custom framed shirt, plus instant win prizes available as well, including a Ross Barkley signed shirt as well. But Morgan Rogers one, I don't think that's been available before, and there's only 175 tickets available, so a very good chance of winning that. Just under 2 weeks left of the prize. It's only just been launched. Tickets cost £3.95 each. Competition ends on Thursday, the 5th of December. So please visit footballprizes.co.uk and search for the Aston Villa prize. So, whose predicted lineup should I get on first? I thought they were basically both the same, but there's a slight difference. I think this one might be George's.
Yeah.
I believe this is George's.
The formation's way neater than mine. Mine, it looked like I'd had about 11 vodka lime sodas when I did it, and I hadn't.
It was as if you had. But yeah, it's George, Emi Martinez in goal, Matty Cash, Diego Carlos, Pau Torres, Luca Dean, Barkley, Tielemans, and then Bailey and McGinn. Bailey on the right, obviously, McGinn off the left. Rogers just behind Ollie Watkins. And then Kev, you have gone for Martinez, Cash, Torres, Mings, Luca Dean, Barkley, Tielemans, and then McGinn, Rogers, and Ian Maatsen with Ollie Watkins up top. So, Kev, you talk through yours, because I think that is a little bit more of a left field choice, but interesting nonetheless. So, yeah. Thoughts?
My thoughts are it will be Georgie's team. that plays tomorrow. But my thoughts are, I think Carlos has been a bit of a liability lately, and I just think that if you'll happily play 2 right-footed centre-backs, which a lot of teams will, then what's the problem playing 2 left-footers? I think we need to get this out of our heads, that it's an issue, and it isn't an issue, is it really? You'd probably happily play 2 right-footed strikers, but would you play 2 left-footed strikers, or can they do it? Does it really matter? And the thing with Maatsen playing is, I just think when he's played, I think he's arguably been our most potent attacking option from a wide position.
Yeah.
So with Digne's form, scoring basically a worldy free kick, but in the new world, that doesn't count as his goal because it hit the keeper. He probably would have got away with that years ago. He would have been in the record books. And 2 assists. He's obviously in good form and he's solid. And I just look at it and think, the only other option I thought, which I think I did for the Liverpool game, was to play Rodgers wide. And play McGinn further forward, which I think was mentioned in the chat before. But I think for me now, I think it's Barkley straight back in. I would play him probably anyway at the moment with how he was before he got injured. Tielemans with obviously Onana and Kamara out is a no-brainer. Rodgers Watkins picks itself, and I think it's just a situation then of trying to get McGinn to support a bit more in attack, Maatsen as well, keep that solidity in defence. But Mings, for me, he hasn't played much, but I think he's been fine when he's played. Other than picking the ball up when he shouldn't in the box. I think from a physicality perspective, in terms of his strength perspective, I think he's been fine. And I just think we've really missed him in defence.
Yeah, we need him back to his best Kev, mate, don't we?
We do. George, I think I'll be leaning more towards your team. I don't like John McGinn off the right-hand side. I like McGinn behind Watkins. So in terms of that potential hybrid between sort of what Kev said, Rodgers off the right-hand side, maybe McGinn behind Watkins, maybe Maatsen in off the left, potentially that could work. But I think it will be that team. I can't see it not being that team if I'm being brutally honest. I just want to see him start fast. I just want to see him start quickly.
The only doubts is, obviously, Cash had just come back from an injury. Tielemans didn't go on international duty. Torres didn't go on international duty. Are they okay? Is this going to be are they going to be coming off after 20 minutes with another injury? We don't really know how fit they are, do we? What we do know is there's not much coming up behind them. So I'm a little bit concerned myself, but hopefully they can get through the 90 minutes and, put in a performance.
Go on, Kev. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think if Cash, I think you make a good point, right? Those guys weren't named in the injury list, were they, earlier by Unai? But you're right. If they have been injured, then are they all ready to start? I think if Cash isn't ready to start, I'd 100% play Nedeljkovic.
Barkley's been out as well, hasn't he?
Barkley's been out, yeah. But then what are your options then? I mentioned this, I think, in our chat the other day, and I'm not saying this because I think he's been sparkling when he's played, but I do think how long is it until you say at least give Buendia a couple of games? Not that he's been brilliant, but if you can get back to that form he got a year ago, it's not like Philogene and Bailey and even Ramsey consistently have been putting up loads of trees this season. I'm not saying he's a perfect option, and I think maybe his time at Villa is probably going to be over soon. But at the moment, when you're struggling in attacking areas, maybe you're not too far away from doing that.
Well, look, I was just about to say,
knocked out the League Cup, lads, wasn't it? We need
to give minutes to players. Yeah. Well, this is he was crap though. He was absolutely shite in that game. He was so bad. He was so bad. But I mean, and that probably made sealed his future. To be fair, with Unai Emery. But I, in terms of the bench, I was going to say, with regards to having players, that would leave, say, a Buendia to come off the bench and have an opportunity to change things. Duran off the bench still. You've probably still got Philogene off the bench as well, or I don't know if he's got a little bit of a knock. You've potentially got Bailey off the bench, depending on what he does, or Maatsen, depending on what he does. So you've still got some pretty decent players to call upon if needed off the bench. That's still pretty strong. And obviously then Mings or whoever as defensive options, and Nedeljkovic for me I'm still not. I thought about this today and I thought, I'm still not having him. I actually think Kane Kessler-Hayden would probably be a better option.
I don't think Unai's having him either. Unai's not been giving him much of a chance. He's a bit rabbit in headlights. He's a bit headless chicken. He's very weak.
Do you think
Bogart? And lots of times players can become better particularly when the other players aren't particularly playing well on the pitch. It's like, well, throw him in. What can he do any worse? But I'm just not having Costa for me at the minute. I'm not having him.
I just worry.
What were
as
you going to
well.
say? Sorry, George.
Sorry, all I just said is, do you think Bogart's ahead of Nedeljkovic at right back?
No, I think Bogart's more likely to move into midfield.
Yeah,
I think he sees him as a bit of
nothing
a
there, have we, now?
utility player. But I think he'll probably move him into midfield. I think in pre-season he played him in that position to try and carry the ball forward. I think he sees him as quite a calm ball carrier. And then in that Palace game, when he did bring him on, he brought him on in a midfield position. So I think you could potentially see him now with these players out. If say something happens to a Barkley,
yeah, got to be first choice
you
from
could
the sub.
you could probably drop McGinn back into that position and then put Buendia on, but he would probably be an option to come on in sort of a defensive midfield position, Bogard.
Yeah.
Which, like you say, there's certain positions now where we do seem a little bit light, but there's still other positions where we're quite strong, which is still good. But yeah, I mean, I think that'll be the team, like you said, George. I think he'll give Bailey another shot. I think Watkins starts, obviously. I think he should benefit from getting a goal in international duty. I think Rodgers should hopefully come back buzzing off the back of getting, 2 caps at international duty. McGinn scoring in back-to-back games for Scotland. Everything's there for those 3 or 4 players to come back in and do so and show what they can do. They should be coming back with a bit of confidence at least.
Yeah, I wish McGinn could score for Villa like he does for bloody Scotland. Jesus Christ, he's going to break their record, I reckon, as the top scorer. And he gets about 3-4 a season for us. What's going on there?
Yeah.
He's been in an attacking role for a little while now, isn't he? He just doesn't. I don't know. Maybe we just don't use him like they do.
I want to see. I've got a feeling we'll see a McGinn back to a John McGinn of old tomorrow. I really do. I've got a good feeling about tomorrow's game. I have. Quick look at the stats from Villa Palace over the years. I should have had this organised before, but not to worry. Head-to-head, 24 times we've played. Villa have 9 total wins. Palace have 9 total wins. We've won 7 games at home against them. Palace have won once away from home, and we have 6 draws. Obviously, last season was a 5-0 defeat, last game of the season, when Champions League was already sealed. Most of the players were still drunk, I think, after the presentation night. We beat them 3-1 with John Duran, absolute howitzer. Season before that, beat them 1-0 at Villa Park, and we lost 3-1 at Selhurst Park at the beginning of that season. And before that, a draw, 1-1 draw. I think that was a bit of a poor game under Steven Gerrard as well. Recent form, obviously, Palace 1 win and a draw out of the last 5. Villa 1 win and 2 draws out of the last 5. So both teams not in the best of form at the minute. Villa currently sitting in 9th. Palace sitting in 18th. Have only won 1 game all season. Averaging 0.73 goals. But they're not conceding too many. We're actually conceding more goals than them per game. So the stats suggest we do create quite a few chances as well. The stats suggest that we should get a win. But just summarising, Kev, they're not a team to be sniffed at. It's still going to be a difficult game.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. As we say all the time, and there's no easy game in this league, and they'll be coming to Villa Park. Let's be clear, thinking Villa aren't quite what they have been as well. So if we're going to get a win or some points, even a point for them would be a good result against a inverted commas big team. Obviously we 4th place team last season. Then this is a big opportunity for them as well. They wouldn't be feeling like it's going to Anfield probably. Or going to the Etihad. So I think for them, Man United got a new manager. They're going to probably get a bit of a bounce. If they were going there, they're playing Villa, who've lost 4 in a row. So they're probably taking the opportunity to do it. The onus is on Villa to take that away from them with the quality that we've got in the team. But again, I'll come back to this point. It's not just the quality. I want to see a bit more intensity, a bit more urgency, a bit more positivity, a bit more tenacity. All of these fighting qualities and just a bit of a level of get up and go from the team, which seems to have been lacking a little bit. And I know that's bred by goals and assists and a good run forward, but the players need to do it. They often say, don't they, one good marauding run. Look at Morgan Rodgers this season, goes on a great run, and we're lauding him. People still talk about that Nedeljkovic run he did early in the season, as a reason to keep him in the team. So we need to do some positive things: shots, goals, assists. Attacking play. Get the fans on the seat and keep it solid at the back, please.
100%, 100%. So everyone, we're going to come to score predictions to finish up the show. Hit that like button again and do subscribe if you haven't already. Get your score predictions as well in the comments. Are we confident? Lots of people saying Bailey will come good as well. Paul says Bailey's smiling again, looked happy in training for the first time in ages. Wouldn't be surprised if he's been a bit depressed and this was his issue. I'm confident that smiling Bailey does damage to the opposition. Rachel said you keep going with Bailey until you have a replacement or Bailey improves. That's all we can do. Kev says Bailey will come good. He's convinced of it. Sai said he actually started sharp at Bruges, but we didn't use him. David said Bailey will come good. Keep the faith with him. For me, definitely.
I love the positivity, by the way, from the Villa fan base. Great to see. I really hope he does. I fell in love with him properly last season, as a player. But you know what? When you say never fall in love with a lone player, because he's had like one good season in 4, it feels like he was on loan with us and I fell in love with him. I fell in love with the idea of that player, and I do think he will come good. And I love that comment about maybe that he's not been himself, maybe he's been down, had been depressed, whatever it is, and he's looking happy again. Potentially, it is a mental health thing or a confidence thing if his physical fitness has been there. But I would love nothing more than for Leon Bailey to I think the doubters are there rightfully. I'd love nothing more for him to have a sparkling performance tomorrow, get a couple of goals, get an assist. Show us that he's back.
I'm still there with. I don't think he's been that bad, but we'll agree to disagree.
Games, hasn't he? A couple of assists and that.
Yeah, I'm still there with. I don't think he's been that bad, and I do think there's been an element of he's receiving the ball in the more difficult areas because we're playing in a different way. Like he's receiving the ball 10, 15, 20 yards further back and he's having to beat 1, 2, 3 more players, which he's never going to do. We're probably going to do once in a blue moon. So, yeah. But I agree with Kev. I want to see him smiling. I want to see that kind of that joyful play, that kind of relaxed, just taking the ball in his stride. And he's very much a rhythm player. So I just want to see him get that back. But I think a lot of it comes from that fast start. And if we can get to that, then I think you get a much better Leon Bailey. When we're trying to be more controlled and slow and methodical, he doesn't operate like that because players have more time to get back and defend against him. Whereas he's better when he receives it, when he's moving with the ball at pace, and that's where we need to be in transition and get him the ball so he's running onto it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Loads of score predictions coming in. Deontay said Aston Villa 2, Crystal Palace 0. Sai saying 3-1 win. Kevin saying 2-0 Watkins and McGinn. David said Rodgers needs to take chances to take his game to the next level, and then he'll be a beast. Absolutely. Bear in the Garden says 1-0. PJJ said McGinn, Rodgers, Watkins, 3-1 to us. Sai said we'll score inside 10 minutes tomorrow. TW says 2-1 Palace. Are you a Palace fan? Carl has to set up Mateta. David said 4-1 win to the Villa boys. George, what are you saying for tomorrow's score and scorers, if any?
Before I come to that, right, I was just thinking there, what you're saying about the play, like the slow build up and everything that we tried to do last year. I thought last year we were great at doing that. But honestly, I think without Louise and Kamara in midfield, I think that system's gone. I don't think we can do it without them.
Well, he's changing it now. Yeah, he's definitely changing it. He's becoming more of a running and carrying the ball.
Yeah, I think that has to be the option now.
Yeah.
So I think you just got to get away from that. The midfielders have got different qualities now, haven't they? But as for this game, it's a tough one because, I really rate for Palace. I really rate Gehi, the centre-back. Every time I see him, he just impresses me. And I think he's a top-notch defender and it's going to be hard to get past him. But I think, we need a win here, don't we? And the fact they've not won away, the Villa of old would give this one up, wouldn't they? And it'll be, Palace have had their first win of the season away at Villa. But I like to think we're better than that now. Famous last words. And I think we need to win. I think we're going to win. So I'm going to go for 2-1 Villa. Leon Bailey to score to, the smile on his face, everything you just said, get a goal, get your chins up. And I'm going to go for Ollie Watkins to maybe win it for us. So, yeah, 2-1.
Nice one. Kev, what about you, mate?
Aston Villa 0, Crystal Palace 11. No. I'm going to say I'm back on the positive train, and we've got it out of our system, and Unai and the boys are going to put that to bed for us for the rest of eternity, and we'll never lose a game again. So I'm going to say Aston Villa 3, Crystal Palace 0, and I'm going to say the scorers will be John McGinn doing what he does for his country for us. Oliver Watkins will be getting a goal to get himself back on the scoring track, and I think off the bench, redemption, renaissance, Leon Bailey's going to get a third. He's going to cut inside, Ben one in the top corner. I can see him going to the fans, arms in the air, the songs in the background, Shakira, the Africa remix.
Fingers in the ears and all that.
Yeah. Everything's going to be rosy at Villa Park. Absolutely.
Love it. And Dickie says, there's quite a negative vibe about the team at the moment, but reckon playing Juventus on Wednesday will be the lift we need, just like the Bayern game. A win will kickstart our season. I am going to say similar to Kev, but I don't think we keep a clean sheet. But Aston Villa 3, Crystal Palace 1. I think we get fast out the blocks, 2 goals, Bailey and Watkins, and then we concede, and then the big man, John Durant, has been brought on, and he will seal the win at 3-1 victory. So back on the winning train, probably takes us to top of the league, probably with how tight the league is at the moment. But no, I think probably take us back up to 5th or 6th or 4th or something. But yeah, good win, good positive win, gets us back on track. Champions League then to come on Wednesday, and then Chelsea away the following week. So big games to come. Boys, thank you very much. Good to get back in the saddle on the podcast train as we got plenty shows to come over the next few weeks. Guys, thank you all for watching. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe button. We'll be back with instant reaction. We'll also be back with match reaction, possibly if we can tomorrow night. And also I've got a competition going on X to win a Villa shirt. So make sure you check out Villa Park Pod on X to follow the instructions to potentially be in with a chance of winning a Villa shirt. And yes, loads more shows coming up as well. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Boys, once again, thank you very much. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.